Welcome to Chris's Texas Sports Podcast. Hi, I'm Chris, by the way. And as I'm taping right now, I've got the Astros game on. They're playing the Red Sox at Minute Maid Park. Justin Verlander has gotten the start for the Astros, his first start in 2 months. He's been out with a neck injury. Alex Bregman, who's been off for the past few days with an injury of his own, is back also leading off at DH. Jose Altuve's got the day off. Bregman led off the game with a home run to tie the game after the Red Sox scored a run on JV in the top of the first, but they got another run off of him in the top of the second, and that's where the score is now 2-1, going into the fifth, I believe. They were talking on the telecast, the Astros telecast, about a show coming up, a documentary coming up, I think, on MLB Network on Sunday about Greg Maddux, the Hall of Fame pitcher, who was on the 1995 Atlanta Braves World Series champion team, and also played for the Cubs and other teams. In fact, I got to see him pitch when he was pitch against the Astros when he was with the Cubs. I believe it was the last game of the 2005 season where the Astros clinched the wild card and, of course, went on to win their only pennant in the National League. Hopefully, the Astros can re-sign Alex Bregman, who was a free agent after the season. He's done a lot for the city of Houston through his Bregman Cares charity. He has donated some iPads to kids who have autism. He gave bats to underprivileged schools in Houston. He raised $2 million with his hashtag Feed Hugh initiative during the pandemic. And he also donated 18,000 cases of bottled water after the 2021 snowstorm, Snowmageddon. The Rangers also have involved in a charity through their Rangers Foundation. They have a charity called Faces of Freedom, which honors service members. And outfielder Nathaniel Lowe, whose father was in the Navy, has gotten involved with that. He hosted some Marines from San Diego, and they got to go to Monday's Rangers game against the Pirates. In football news, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones is confident that they'll get a deal with wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. There was a fire at the hotel near their training camp in Oxnard. Fortunately, nobody got hurt. All of the Texas Longhorn football games in Austin this year are sold out. The Lady Longhorns volleyball team is going into the season ranked number 1 in the ABCA preseason top 25. Of course, they're the defending national champions from 2023. Colt McCauley is going into the Texas Hall of Honor on September 20th. Colt just retired from the NFL and is going to be an announcer on NBC for Big Ten football. And there will be several other Longhorns and Lady Longhorns athletes going in with him from a lot of sports. Eddie Vasquez is the new athletic director at U of H. SMU and Tarleton football season start on Saturday. The Mustangs will play at Nevada, while the Texans will host McNeese. Having some mountain lightning. Anyway, the TCU Horned Frogs have named their football team captains for this year, and they are junior safety Bud Clark, senior tight end Chase Curtis, junior linebacker Johnny Hodges, sophomore quarterback John Hoover, senior snapper Brent Matisick, senior wide receiver Savion Williams. By the way, Texas Tech football this year had the best transfer class. Now look at the Angelo State Rams football team under head coach Jeff Kench. They won 7-3 last year and had a 6-2 record in the Lone Star. Well, that was a 6-3 record. Let me double check that real quick. Yeah, that's right. It was 6-2. The Lobos are picked second in the Lone Star by Dave Campbell's Texas football. The Sul Ross State Lobos football team, under head coach Barry Dickerson, were 4-6 last season in Division III. They're moving from Division III to the Division II Lone Star Conference, and since they're moving from D3 to D2, they're ineligible for the D2 playoffs. The Texas A&M-Kingsville Javelinas, A&M-Kingsville, which of course used to be Texas A&I, their head football coach is Mike Salinas. They were 7-3 last year, 5-3 in the Lone Star. They went through 4 quarterbacks last year. They're picked 4th in the Lone Star by Dave Campbell's Texas Football. The UT-Permian Basin Falcons, under head coach Chris McCullough. That's Chris with a K and no H. I'm Chris with a CH. Anyway, the Falcons went 10-2 last year and won the Lone Star Conference with an 8-0 record, but they lost in the first round of the D2 playoffs. And the West Texas A&M Buffaloes round out the look at the D2 football teams in Texas in the Lone Star Conference. Their coach is Josh Lynn. They won 3-7 and had a 2-6 record in the Lone Star. Next, to look at 1948 in Texas sports. Okay, 1948 in Texas sports. SMU and Penn State tied at 13-13 in the 1948 Cotton Bowl. The Mustangs finished the 1947 season ranked number 3. The Baylor Bears basketball team were the 1947-1948 NCAA runner-up. The 1948 Baylor Bears football team had a 6-3-2 record with a 3-2-1 record in the Southwest Conference, good enough for them to get a bid to the 1948 Dixie Bowl, where they beat Wake Forest. The 1948 SMU Mustangs football team went 9-1-1 with a 5-0-1 record in the Southwest Conference, and halfback Doak Walker was the 1948 Heisman Trophy winner. The 1948 Southwest Texas State Bobcats football team had an 8-1 record and won the Lone Star Conference Championship with a perfect 6-0 record. The 1948 Sul Ross State Lobos football team had a 10-0-1 record and won the New Mexico Conference with a 5-0 record. The 1948 Texas Tech Red Raiders football team were the Border Conference champions for 1948. The 1948 Texas Longhorns football team had a 7-3-1 record with a 4-1-1 record in the Southwest Conference. Tom Landry was on that team. Yeah, that Tom Landry. And the 1948 Texas School of Mines Miners football team. Texas School of Mines is now, of course, the University of Texas at El Paso. They had a 6-2-1 record and a 4-1-1 record in the Border Conference. In minor league baseball, the Fort Worth Cats were the 1948 Texas League champions. In high school football, Waco won the 1948 AA State Championship, and Monahans won the 1948 Class A State Championship. Next, I'll tell you about the Houston Hotshots indoor soccer team. The Houston Hotshots indoor soccer team, they played in the Continental Indoor Soccer League and the World Indoor Soccer League. They played in the CISL from 1994 to 1997, and in the WISL from 1997 till their last season after the 2000-2001 season. They played at the Summit, later known as the Compaq Center, and also Astro Arena. Next, a strange Texas sports story. Now, here's a strange Texas sports story. It's one I think you might have heard of. It's about Colt. Houston Colt 45's pitcher Ken Johnson pitching a no-hitter and losing. It was when the Houston Colt 45s played the Cincinnati Reds on April 23, 1964 at Colt Stadium in Houston. Johnson had a no-hitter going into the ninth inning, but the game was scoreless 0-0. With one out, Pete Rose bunted to Johnson, but Johnson overthrew the ball to first and was charged with an error, which allowed Rose to advance to second. But he still had the no-hitter. And then Rose advanced on a fielder's choice by Astros third baseman Bob Aspromonte. But then he scored on an error by Nellie Fox at second base, which put the Reds up 1-0. Frank Robinson flew out to Jimmy Wynn's in the inning, but since there were two errors and since two errors were charged, Johnson still had the no-hitter going into the bottom of the ninth. In the ninth, Colt 45's pinch hitter Pete Runnels got on after an error by the Reds with the two outs. Bob Willis came in to pinch run for Runnels, but pinch hitter Johnny Weekly struck out to end the game. Johnson was never bitter about the losing the no-hitter, even though it was probably quite embarrassing. He even went on the game show I Got a Secret back in the 60s on CBS, which was kind of like another game show that aired on CBS called What's My Line, where a celebrity panel had to guess what the contestant had done. And panelist Henry Morgan guessed that Johnson had pitched a no-hitter and lost the game. Anyway, before I let you go, I got a little story to tell you. I went to the First Baptist Church in Belton on Sunday. That's where my sister and her family attend. And I think I saw a former Astros owner and and billionaire, I think is what he is, or at least a multi-millionaire. Pretty sure he's a billionaire. Drayton McLean. He even said hi. That's how I was. I said, fine. Anyway, I guess I'll let you go now. I know I've taken up enough of your time. Be sure, if you like what you hear, to hit the download button. Leave a like. Follow on Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeart. Check out my other podcast, Highways and Byways, where I talk about people, places, and history of Texas. That's on most podcast platforms. My name is Chris Carlisle, and I'll talk to you Friday. Well, on Friday, I'll look at the D3 football schools in Texas. Goodbye.